Hi everybody, Nikki again, and this is going to be my last video for the evening. They're actually putting me in a better mood, so I'm splurging, but and I changed my camera angle. Sorry, if I can find you, so you're no longer looking at my nose, so and at this part of my forehead. Okay, I just did kind of a thing where I showed a calibration factor, and I'm just talking out loud during these videos. It helps me hear it. It always helps me when I make notes, so I'm kind of just doing it for those of you guys who are looking for some ideas, or you're also thinking out loud at home and it's something to compare it to. And I've been doing all these videos about calibration factor. I know it's scattered. I understand that it's not really how it feels to me because I've been kind of building upon, but it just, life has been crazy for a while and I haven't gotten a chance to organize how I want to present it. And what I'm hoping for is that if I present it to you guys, somebody will come out and say, yes, that is right. Or somebody will come out and will say, no, actually it's not exactly like that, but it could be like this. And I'm looking for some feedback too, because I want to be able to get better control over my blood sugar. It's at this point in my life, it has gone beyond feeling ideal and it's approaching critical. I've had enough things now. I got neuropathy and retinopathy and I'm struggling with infection and there's a lot going on. And I would like to keep my toes, my feet, my eyesight. That's my mom, and I mistakenly did not communicate between videos. So we'll just turn her off. I love you, Mom. Okay, so I'll make this one quick. Kind of. Okay. I was going to give you very basic, from what I understand at this point, about calibration factor. Okay. What I've learned so far. I've said it a couple times. The first thing I had to do, because this is the only thing I thought we were supposed to do with it, is I had to calculate what my calibration factor was. And they made it sound like you have a calibration factor. For the most part, you have a calibration factor, and it kind of remains stable. That was the very first thing I started with. When I set out to do that, I found a 5.5 seemed to pop up left and right. There were all these other ones, but there was this 5.5 that kept coming. So I started to lean toward that and I started to think that's what it was. Then I learned how to use it with my iSig. So then I would look up my iSig, which I've done, I won't do it again, but I look up my iSig and I would multiply it by 5.5 and I would try to see whether or not I could see what my BG was as a result of it. To see, I was checking for accuracy to see if 5.5 really was my number, and I started to learn that although sometimes it was spot on, there were lots of times it wasn't spot on, and then there were even more times, it was a bigger range than I thought, yet they kind of were close to what my BG was. Then I figured out, okay, cool, that means that you can use your calibration factor and your iSig in order to get a BG. I did that the other day at my mom's house because I didn't have a tester. So it is a nifty little trick, and it is something, and now that I've calculated how accurate it is, it makes me comfortable. If I don't have a tester, I can do my BG and my calibration factor and get a ballpark, and it gives me an idea whether or not I need to run off and get something. Okay, so, but then I started to see that it wasn't exactly as predictable as what I thought, and so I began to really track, and I'm talking every time I tested, then every 10 minutes, then sometimes I would, do clusters of 3 or 4 test strips at a time so that I could see exactly how much variance there was at each sitting. And I am not a scientist, I'm not a mathematician. I really enjoy numbers and coffee, so I'm doing a lot of this, but okay. And I started to see some patterns, and there's enough patterns that I know there's something good in there, and that's why I'm still talking about it. And now I'm beginning to use it a lot every day, and I keep thinking that this is this really cool stuff that we don't have access to. We have these sugar testers that are up to 20%. I mean, they could be 20% off. That's enormous. I'm going to do another video about that, not today, but, and we're making insulin and carb decisions based on these numbers, and it leads to too much insulin, or it leads to too many carbs, and which sets off, and then we have to hear, don't do the roller coaster. This is very dangerous for you. The roller coaster is the worst. Well, how can you not do a roller coaster when you're over medicating for insulin and overdoing carbs as a correction and whatever? Okay. So now I'm doing a lot of work with this calibration factor. I'm 5 minutes into the video. I'm going to give you the basics, and then I'll be back. So this is what I know. My calibration factor when my blood sugar is stable is a 5.5, but that's only when my blood sugar is stable. When my blood sugar goes high, it can still be a 5.5 because sometimes I'm doing a video. I'll call you back in 1 minute. I love you. Mom.
You okay?
Yes, I'm doing a video. Bye. Okay, if I ignored her, she was going to show up at my door. So, whew. Okay, anyway, my blood sugar could be a 300 and stable, and it's still a 5.5. My blood sugar could be a 60 and stable, and it's still a 5.5. So my calibration factor at 5.5 has nothing to do with whether or not it's rising or falling. It has to do with whether or not my blood sugar is stable. That's great information. All we have without this calibration factor is just a snapshot. So this calibration factor has a lot of potential because it actually gives us some direction. It's like your arrows on your SG, only it's accurate and up to the minute, right? Rather than 12 minutes delayed. Okay. So when my blood sugar rises above a 5.5, for instance, if it goes up to a 6, a 6.2, a 6.319, a 7, an 8, I've seen as high as a 10.3. What I know is that my sugar is on the rise. What I don't know is if that means it's going super fast, which is what I think. I think that it speeds up and then it takes off. I think it's the 1, 2, 3 arrows that we see on the sensor, only we get it right off of our own information. My blood sugar can be an 80 and my calibration factor can be an 8.2. And it means that I am taking off. So even if all of my testers and my SG show me at an 80, you know, if I walk away right there, I think, oh, my blood sugar is good. I could afford to have this other thing. If I do my calibration factor, that's when I know, oh no, my blood sugar is an 80, but I'm not staying there. So no more carbs, or even be prepared to do insulin because now I know that I'm really about to take off. It gives you a heads up. So I really like it. Okay, so when my calibration factor goes up, it means I'm on the move upward. When my calibration factor drops below a 5.5, it means I'm dropping. So a 4.6 means I'm falling. A 3 means I'm falling fast. I've seen as low as a 2.3. That's the lowest I've seen. And when I had a 2.3, my blood sugar was a 40. When I was a 10.3, my blood sugar was, you know, probably a 260 or something. It wasn't, today I had a 600. So I know that it doesn't necessarily coordinate with your blood sugar. It coordinates with your direction and I think your rate of change. I'm 8 minutes into my video. I promised you the basics. I'm really hoping that if I get these together, somebody's going to go, oh no, you got it all wrong. Stop making videos. And I'll say, okay. Or you know what, you're really onto something. So now I'm looking and this is what I've learned. If I could just get the confidence to go with it and to stop thinking I'm wrong, I have a feeling that it would really help me make some good decisions, and it already has. So this isn't all hopeful. This is like where I'm using it all the time. I just need everything in my life to quiet down so I can, you know, figure out what it all means. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.